Okay, we're going to go over this homework problem, which is from Stewart Calculus, 8th edition, early transcendental, section 2.2, number 38. We're going to find this infinite limit, which is the limit of cotangent x as x approaches pi to the left. The directions before this are find the infinite limit. Let me write that down. So we're trying to find the infinite limit. So the solution is that we are going to sketch the graph of cotangent x, and then looking at that graph, we're going to solve this problem, answer the question, what's the infinite limit? So the infinite limit has an answer of infinity or negative infinity. It's Some people say, well, that's not a limit. I mean, not some people, I suppose it's not really a limit, it's an infinite limit. So a limit should be a number, but this is not a number, so we call it an infinite limit. But let's focus now on the cotangent graph. Let's remind ourselves that cotangent is cosine x divided by sine x. Now, let's also remind ourselves that sine x is equal to 0 when x is 0 in pi, 2 pi, etc. Also negative pi, negative 2 pi, etc. And so those places are going to be, that's where sine x is equal to 0. And when sine x is 0, we have 0 in the denominator of this fraction of cosine x divided by sine x. 0 in the denominator leads to vertical asymptotes. So at pi, we're going to have a vertical asymptote. At 0, there's a vertical asymptote. I'm making 3 spaces along the x-axis because pi is around 3. So I'm just trying to make it roughly something that makes sense in terms of scale. But obviously, I mean, we should know that pi is not 3. It's a little more than 3. Okay, now let's then, well, actually it's not perfect because I want to put pi over 2 here. Okay, that didn't come out very evenly, but that's the way I did it. I just going to get carried away here. Okay, now let's then look at some other things. All the trig functions are positive between 0 and pi over 2. That's quadrant 1. So let me just talk about this one piece here where I have a vertical asymptote at 0. I didn't put the dotted lines for that y-axis. When x equals 0, we have a vertical asymptote. And I know between 0 and pi over 2, cotangent is positive, as all the other trig functions are. So if there's a vertical asymptote, it's got to go up. It's not going to go down because between 0 and pi over 2, all the trig functions are positive. Well, I also want to fit in here without, I guess maybe I will zoom out more, this other fact, which is that cosine x is equal to 0 when x is, I'll just write it like this, is equal to pi over 2, but also 3/2 pi, dot, 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 but then negative pi over 2, dot, dot, dot in the other direction. So that's when cosine x is 0. Cosine's in the numerator. So when cosine x is 0, the fraction cosine x divided by sine x is equal to 0. So those are going to be our x-intercepts. And so we have these vertical asymptotes. And, well, I could add more. I'm going to sort of just tell you what it looks like. Between, uh, between pi over 2 and pi, cosine is positive and sine is negative, and so it's going to go and look like this. I mean, a little bit, this is a function that we're sort of supposed to memorize the graph from anyway, but it's one of the lesser considered trig functions, especially the graph. So and it just keeps going on and on and on like that. Okay. And I feel like I need to include this point here. That's going to be 5/2 pi. All right. Now, the question though was what happens as x approaches pi from the left? I'm going to make that red here. I'm coming to pi from the left. Here's the left over here, and I'm drawing arrows to show as I come from the left, it's going down and down and down, and just keeps going down, 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 down. It's the Johnny Cash song. Down, 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 a ring of fire. All right, so let's come back to this over here. What can we say about cotangent? Okay, well, anyway, this is the cotangent graph. I better write that down too. Y equals cotangent x. Oh, I wrote over here. That's the cotangent graph. Okay, so then let's pick a bright color for our answer. What's the answer? X is approaching pi from the left. We have these arrows, make them brighter with this purple color here. That's going down. Down is negative infinity. The direction is at infinite limit, so it's either positive or negative infinity anyway. And then to top it off, icing on the cake, highlight it. Highlight the answer. Okay, and that finishes this one.